Welcome to Whine with HR. I'm Jules.
Hey there, I'm Trish.
Lawyers turned HR professionals. Through our company, Monarch Endeavors, we guide employers through their oh shit moments with their employees.
In this podcast, we will discuss some of the most common and commonly frustrating HR problems while enjoying our favorite adult beverage, wine.
So sit back, grab a glass if you choose, and join us as we think about and drink about all things HR.
Welcome to this week's episode of Whine with HR, where we are going to discuss workplace civility. Now, I know this is always a hot button topic, but this year, as you've probably already seen or even heard, it's even more important. So, why are we discussing it today? Well, Julie and I came across a really great article. Shocker, it's a SHRM article that was talking about civility or incivility in email. And we said, you know what? It doesn't just end there. It goes into everything. And because this is an election year and because we've already seen the impacts that can have, even though they shouldn't be talking about politics in the workplace, we've already seen the impacts it does have on your employees and productivity. So we thought we should talk about it with y'all and give you some great tips on how to maybe turn this into more of a positive instead of an, oh my gosh, I need some wine.
Good segue, Trish. Good segue.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm learning from the best.
So what are you drinking today?
Well, all right. So I know our listeners out there know that I go for the cheaper wines usually. I am literally the reason they created the Josh memes, okay? Everybody knows I love my Josh, and I stick in that kind of price range. However, today I did jump up a little bit, and Julie, I think you will be exceptionally proud because guess what? I am drinking something called Unshackled.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know who it's from?
Is it from Orange Swift?
No, good guess. It's a prisoner wine.
Well, that's technically Orange Swift.
Oh, shoot, that's right. I always forget. Darn it. See,
so we're
I'm
both
gonna learn
right.
eventually.
We're both right.
Yes. So I am obsessed with this. Price point is like the mid-20s. So again, a little higher than what I would normally go, but absolutely obsessed. Could not even say, just on the first few sips. When they describe it, they say, and you know, this always gets me, aromas of blackberry and blackcurrant. But then they said, and this is why I bought the bottle, a hint of olive tapenade.
Oh.
Right? And so I was like, okay, I need to have this. And then once I started tasting it, oh my dear goodness. And I love clove, I love herb, so everything about this, it's definitely not, a light, happy summertime drinking wine. It's like a winter, luscious, just adore. So, and considering how cold it is, yeah.
Warm you up
exactly.
kind of wine.
Yeah. Exactly. What about you, Jules?
Well, before we get to me, I have a question. Is it a red blend or a cab or what is it?
Oh, excellent question. This one actually is their cab.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Cool bottle too.
Yeah, isn't that?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a Codex. For those of you who are wondering, and obviously you can't see, it looks like a Codex. It's amazing.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I am drinking another white, and I think it's just because I so badly want it to be spring that I just keep hoping that if, I can't fool Mother Nature, I can fool myself. But anyway.
Kudos. I love that.
Yes. I am drinking a Bordeaux Blanc from Clarendelle. And it is from Clarendelle Wines. And it is 55% Sauvignon Blanc. So, of course, I like it.
Of course.
And then it is 26% Semillon and 19% Muscadelle, which is that I just made that sound Italian and it's French wine, but it's all good. It's fine. It's fine. What can I say? Oh, so this one to me, it is a very nice blend. It doesn't have, again, quite the bite of a traditional Sauvignon Blanc, but it has that lovely citrusy taste and let me see, a lemon finish with hints of, I would almost say there's a little bit of olive in this one. It has a it has a little bit of an oily taste on that back end.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it's very good. It's a 2022. So, yes, very good. As always, we will put the wines that we are tasting in the show notes. So in case you want to try them, you can. This one, I do believe, Trisha, you would be proud of me. I found in the $10 and under bin at my local grocery store. So
I am very proud of you.
So see, I'm not always a wine snob, just most of the time.
Yeah.
But it's great.
That's okay. Great. We're educating our palates. Isn't that what we said?
Yes, we are educating our palates. Yes, we're in training.
Always.
Always, yes. Okay, so we have gone through our WINEs. So back to our WHINE. So we were talking a little bit about workplace civility, or at least we introed it for you. And of course, as is becoming our thing, we have to start with some stats. And because I would never take that away from Trisha, I'm going to toss it back over to her.
Thank you. You know how much I love my stats. And for those of you who haven't figured it out by now, go back and check some of our old episodes. All right. So my first stats I want to share with you come from an oldie but a goodie as far as resources and research go. This one is from The Cost of Bad Behavior by Christine Pearson and Christine Porath. As far as I'm concerned, they're like the gurus when it comes to civility and civility research.
Yes.
So this one came from a study of 800 employers. And so what they found was 96% of employees reported that they have experienced incivility at work. 94% of workers who are treated in an uncivil manner, I love this one, say they get even with their offenders.
Woo!
Yeah. Another study, this one was from Weber Shandwick, Powell Tate, and KRC Research called Civility in America back in 2016 said, that was back in 2016. Imagine where we are now. 95% of Americans say civility is a problem, and 70% say incivility has risen to crisis levels.
This is making me depressed, Trisha.
I know. I'm sorry.
Making me need to drink.
It's important. That's why it's our WHINE.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And that's why we have the WINE. Mm-hmm.
Cheers to that. All right. And from just one more, there's a recent Myers-Briggs study that was shared in a SHRM article. The one that I mentioned earlier, Julie and I are going to discuss the SHRM article later. It was called 8 Tips for Avoiding Conflict in Email. And in this one, it said that managers spend an average of 4.3 hours each week dealing with some sort of conflict on their teams.
Wow.
And that is mind-blowing.
Yeah, that's half a day every week.
Yes. So I thought those, and again, not to depress y'all out there, but I think it goes to the importance of this topic. So Julie, your brilliant reasons on why this is so important now that I've given us our stats.
Well, yeah. So, one of the reasons that we wanted to tackle this topic is because of a couple experiences I have had recently that reminded me why this is such an important topic. I've worked with a couple different groups recently where, when I was asking them, these groups were having had reached an impasse where they just are no longer able to communicate effectively, and they work together and the work is just sort of stopped. And so I'm trying to help them get back on a path where they can work together in a productive manner. And with both of these groups, when I ask them, what do you want the workplace to look like? What do you want your culture to be? They would use the same terms. So they would throw out things like professionalism, respect, collegiality, inclusion.
All good words.
All good words. But the people who are actually having the conflicts are using the exact same words.
Oh.
So then I'm thinking, okay, well, so the problem here is we don't define them the same way. So the things that people, one person is doing, and I'm going to give a little tidbit from the article, but for example, some people, when they send an email, it's short, sweet, to the point. They don't do the hi, how are you, even put the person's name, have a salutation at the end, and they think that is perfectly respectful because they're not taking up extra time for this person to read through the niceties of yada, yada, yada. And so that person who sent that doesn't think that's disrespectful.
Right.
But some people who receive it may very well think that's disrespectful because it's short and it's perhaps abrasive or seems abrasive to them, because they would typically write their email saying, "Dear Trisha, how are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. Here's what I need to tell you. Hope you have the best weekend ever. Talk to you later. Bye-bye now." Best. And that is respectful to them. So you have this clash where both people are using the same words.
Right.
But they define them differently. And so that becomes a problem. So if we don't have a shared understanding of the words we're using, we can't really build a culture based on words.
Mic drop again.
So that was what prompted me to suggest this as a topic, because I think that's really important. I think this concept of having a shared understanding of what our core values or our culture actually looks like, or what a civil workplace looks like, is really important, because if we don't even have the same basic understanding, we're never going to achieve it.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Now, I can hear people out there groaning, right?
Yes.
I can hear it, because they're like, yeah, no, this whole idea of civility, we're going to have to be super careful. And they're thinking of it in a negative way. So I'm thinking we should define what we think it is and what we think it isn't. Good idea?
Yes. Great idea.
All right. I want to say the very first one I would say is being tolerant of differences. Julie kind of alluded to this. Someone's communication style may not be the same as yours. And because you don't actually get to see the body language, the facial cues, and all of the other things that normally go into communicating, it's very, very easy to misunderstand or to use your own biases and infer a tone that really isn't there. The same thing with lifestyle, culture. Yours may be different than theirs. That is not an excuse to treat someone differently or with carelessness or with contempt. It's not for you. That's okay, right? So I'm just giving you guys a few examples of what we mean by being tolerant of differences. Different cultures, different races, different beliefs. Going back to the whole point of how this is one of those years where it's exceptionally important to focus on civility. We are in a culture that is very divided. this idea of agreeing to disagree and being civil, even though we don't understand where the other person is coming from, people are just, we're experiencing this incredible chasm. So that's what we're talking about here, is this kind of being tolerant, being, again, we're going to define all these words later, professionalism and things like that, but doing that with the understanding that other people may come at it from a different position. And that doesn't make them wrong. It doesn't make them right. It just makes it different.
I think that's a great point. I would also say that workplace civility, you've heard me say it, Trish. Anybody who's taken a class has heard me say it, but it's applying the golden rule plus. So it's not just treating others how you would like to be treated, but it's treating others how they would like to be treated when that is appropriate. So there are certainly times, like if you learn that somebody has a really hard time accepting constructive criticism, or if they know that like a meeting is set and they don't know the purpose of that meeting, they might get super, super anxious about it and sort of worry over it until that meeting happens. Then don't send out a meeting invite on Friday where they have to worry about it all weekend until Monday, or go actually pop in their office or call them on the phone and say, hey, I want to meet on Monday. Here's what I want to meet about. Is that cool? So that they're not like, if you have somebody who has a tendency to do that, then be kind. Choose kindness.
Yeah. That's such an empathetic approach,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And the other thing I would say is focusing on performance, right? I think that we can focus on performance and separate it from the person. And that can be difficult for both the giver and the receiver of the information. So if we really focus on the performance and what the communicated expectations were, and focus on improvement. One of the things going with Julie's Golden Rule Plus is always looking at asking them where they think they can improve. And then using their ideas. Amazing. I think that's a great idea. Now, how will you get there? Julie and I talk about this a lot in our online courses. And I just think it's a phenomenal tool because it makes people feel heard. It makes them feel valued. And they really think, oh, wow, this was my idea. Whether it was theirs and you kind of molded it a little bit or, right? So I really like that one. Just focus on the performance, not on the person.
I agree completely. And I think also that's one of the other things, like with a group dynamic, to focus on the purpose of whatever it is you're meeting about or working towards, or, whatever the goal of the project is. Because I think a lot of times we fall into the trap of thinking that the workplace is just a place to be with friends and we've all got to be chummy and we've all got to, be besties. And that's not really the case. And sometimes when we lose sight of the reason we're there, which is to get work done.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Then we can sort of get lost in the weeds of a lot of this extraneous stuff and the drama, whereas if you really define the purpose, and I'll give you a quick example. One of the groups that I was working with, they were having a lot of trouble in their weekly meetings because the meetings kept kind of going off the rails because people would hijack the meetings to talk about things that were not on the agenda or, the other things. And part of the problem was, again, they did not have a shared understanding of the purpose of the meeting. The purpose of the meeting was to make decisions and get things done.
Right.
Some people saw the purpose of the meeting as the time to debate and deliberate and to exchange ideas. And that is fine. That could be the purpose of a particular meeting, but it's not the overall purpose of this particular weekly meeting. But again, they didn't have a shared understanding of that. So this was causing a lot of friction. So I think it's really important. And even if you take this down to the micro level, defining the purpose of what you're doing for everybody. So if you have a meeting, why are you meeting? What is the purpose of that meeting? If you can define that at the outset, it's going to make everybody focus more easily. And then you're all focusing on collective performance, which can help you avoid, again, all of this sort of extra stuff that tends to worm its way in to work.
I love that. So essentially, when you're doing that, you're helping people actually communicate with, well, respect and maybe dignity.
Absolutely. Yep. Giving everybody a space to say what they need to with the purpose of
within the parameters,
yes, decision making or keeping things moving forward, or again, whatever it is, But
yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
So what is it not, Jules?
Well, so, and this is a great thing. And, you and I do this in a lot of our courses, but defining what it isn't, because a lot of people, when they hear workplace civility, they think, oh, I've got to babysit my employees. I've got to treat them with kid gloves. I've got to, I've got to be super sensitive to everything every little quirk they may have. No, that's not it. That's not it. You don't have to hold your employee's hand. You don't have to give them a free pass to act in whatever manner they want. So those would be my top two. What do you have to add?
Going right along with that last one that you said with that free pass, I would say you want to make sure you're treating everyone consistently. If you're not treating them consistently or fairly, and you don't have, let's say, a justification to do so, right? Again, that meaning not like I'm right and you're wrong, meaning there's a legitimate business reason, or you're treating them differently based on how you've handled things in the past. It's not being inconsistent. It's not being unfair. It's not jumping down one person's throat, but letting someone else get away with it. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there because I'm just getting excited to talk about what it looks like.
Yes, yes. Well, and there's lots of ways that incivility can crop up in the workplace. But so we're going to give you some examples of, again, what we don't want to see. So that then when we tell you our tips, you can see how they counteract these types of behaviors. So, one is losing your temper or yelling at someone, raising your voice, having a condescending tone, body language where maybe you're pointing your finger at somebody or, leaning forward, getting in their face. I'm sure by now we've already had the Super Bowl. So everybody's seen the meme where Travis Kelce is in his coach's face screaming at him, And I had somebody ask me in a professional setting the other day, did he cross the line? And I was like, yes. You should never be that close to someone's face, screaming at them in that sort of manner.
Yeah, I love that he owned it too.
Yep.
He owned it, said that he was wrong. And on the flip side, his coach is like, he responded with such grace.
Yes.
Right? He didn't attack Travis. He didn't do all of these nasty things. He was just like, we have this understanding and I was off balance, and like, so cool, because he could have thrown him under the bus. So I thought that was a really graceful response as well, even though, dude, totally crossed the line.
Yeah. Well, and that's a great point, because part of having a civil workplace is people make mistakes. They get hot. They say something, they act a certain way. As long as they own it and apologize for it, and it doesn't become a pattern that is destructive, then that's okay. And it is good to give people grace, especially if it's out of character for them, which this did seem to be. I don't know him, but he seems like a very nice person. So, we're going to assume that he's a good person, but it just was one that sort of has captured the limelight. Like, that's a good example of, in that moment, that was an example of incivility. But then he responded by coming forward with civil actions and saying, I apologize. I got, whatever, anger, my passion, my frustration got the best of me. And then, like you said, the coach responded with grace and said, like, I know that's not you, et cetera. So
great example all around.
yes.
Look at us being relevant.
Yeah.
Ooh, let's talk about something that is really hard to come back from, unlike that one. How about backstabbing or talking about someone behind their back? Y'all just don't do it. If you really, really have the need to talk about someone behind their back, talk to your spouse, your significant other, someone outside of the workplace. Better yet, just don't do it. But I understand some people really just need to vent, but don't do it in the workplace. Or if you really do have a frustration with someone, if something has either offended you or you don't like a behavior, how about talking to them about it?
Yeah.
I mean, good golly. Right?
Yeah.
Like actually approaching them and speaking to them, and so that they can talk it out. Again, using the example that we just had with those Super Bowl. I mean, I think that that's a perfect example of where someone could have gone behind someone's back. Imagine that happening in the workplace. And then they could have been like, can you believe he did that? He's such a blah, 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 blah. And it just could have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. Instead, like ownership and speaking about it and moving past it. So another great example, I think, of incivility. Just do not talk about people.
Yes. Now, sometimes, it does help if you have a sounding board to say, like, do you think I read this situation wrong? Or how do you think I should approach this? That is fine.
Yes.
But make sure you don't do it to the workplace gossip who's going to take what you said and, tell everybody else. So use discretion. It's fine to talk to somebody to get your talking points in order or figure out the best approach or, whatever the case may be. But again, don't do it to the person who is at the water cooler with the tea ready to spill it all.
Cheers to that, Jules. Excellent point.
Yes.
Do you love news about LinkedIn, Indeed, Google, and just about every other recruitment tech company out there?
Hell yeah. I'm Chad.
I'm Cheese.
We're the Chad and Cheese Podcast.
All the latest recruiting news and insights are on our show.
Dripping in snark and attitude.
Subscribe today wherever you listen to your podcasts.
We out.
So the other thing, I mean, we have a lot of examples of what it looks like, and you probably get the gist, but sabotaging a project or someone's reputation, if you can't stand on your own work, then maybe you're not in the right place, but don't try to take somebody down just so that you can get ahead, because eventually that's going to come back and somebody's going to do it to you.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that too. All right, giving public reprimands is another one I just want to jump on quickly for our managers out there, HR, etc. There's absolutely no reason for a public reprimand. Take someone into a private place and have a conversation with them. Reprimand, I feel like we're talking to children here. Let's focus on building some growth, like some forward momentum. Maybe something like, I'd like to have a conversation about the way you approach that. This is how I found it. How did you think that others might take it? How could we do this differently? Something that's growth oriented.
I love that. So we've kind of been mixing in our tips with our examples about what workplace incivility looks like. We do want to touch on emails, and we do want to touch on the SHRM article, because email, even though it seems to be the preferred method of communication, and I get that because nobody wants to talk to each other anymore, it can be the source of many a conflict, and it can definitely lead to a culture of incivility if we're not careful. So we do want to, as Trisha mentioned, we have this great article. We'll put the link in the show notes from SHRM, 8 tips for avoiding conflict in email. So Trisha, out of that article, what was the one that struck you as the most relevant or most important?
My favorite was wait before you hit send.
Yes.
And they also add considering AI rather. I am a big believer in stopping, pausing, and taking a break. Now, in the person who recommended this one, they said like maybe wait 24 hours. I'm not a 24-hour waiter because for some people that could be incivil or uncivil. So I'm not really a big believer in waiting the 24 hours, but I did that today. I wrote an email, was about to pop off a send, and then took a second, step back and was like, you know what? The other person that I copied on this, they just might have taken it wrong.
Sure.
And so I kind of just manipulated it a little bit, made it a little more forward thinking, and then hit send. So that is one of my favorites. Absolutely. Just spending some time to think about how your message is going to be received. It goes back to your golden rule plus.
Yes, I think that's a great point. And I can't tell you how many times especially if I think we've talked about this on another episode, but when you read an email, you receive it in whatever mood you are in.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are already annoyed and you get an email from the person who happens to be annoying you, chances are you are going to receive that in a way that makes you even more annoyed. And so I have been, in a position where I have started to fire back an email and I'm like, delete, 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 delete. Take a breath. Okay. Okay, draft, save that. Come back to it, when like you said, when I've calmed down and I can be a little bit more level-headed and I can again focus on the purpose of the communication. And what are we trying to get to? And can I let the annoyance factor go so that we can get to wherever we need to go? And how do I promote that versus hindering it?
If people take nothing else away from today, the purpose of the communication, the purpose of the meeting, the purpose of the have a purpose. Do you know the purpose?
Yes. In one of the groups that I was working with, somebody asked a great question, and it was, does my response complicate matters or does it help us move forward?
Ooh.
And now, again, we did get into a little bit of a discussion. It was a good discussion about sometimes you need to complicate matters because if somebody isn't seeing a potential obstacle, that needs to be brought to light. But again, as we talked about it further, we further defined that as, well, it is fine to bring up obstacles as long as it is with the purpose of figuring out how to get past them. So not just bringing them up to be contrary or to throw obstacles in the way, but okay, well, here's a potential snag. How do we get past that? How do we make sure that doesn't become a problem? So I think that that's really important too.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I'm always a big believer in come at me with solutions, right?
Yes.
If you're going to be bringing that up, then let's talk about be solution oriented, not exactly what you said, focusing on the fight part of it.
Yes. So my favorite piece of advice from this article is be intentional about relationship building. And this again came up in these groups that I've been working with where a lot of their communications are done by email. And, a lot of this is post-COVID. Again, we got used to communicating via email because we weren't in person. And I know people have forgotten how to human and they don't like to talk to each other anymore if they can avoid it. And many people think that small talk is a waste of time. But I disagree, and I disagree strongly because it is the small moments that help us see each other as human. And it is those small moments, those small moments, those small.
My favorite things are
Right?
small moments.
I'm picturing little gnomes walking around talking about. Anyway, have some more, Julie. So it's those small moments that help us connect on a different level, which this is something that, again, I talked about with both of these groups, is that we have to start seeing each other as human beings. We have to start connecting on those basic levels where you know things about them, because there is no doubt it makes it a lot harder to be a jerk to somebody when you know things about their life. You know the challenges they have faced. You know who their kids are, how old they are, what grades they're in. You've been to their house for dinner. It makes it a lot harder to be, I'm using one of your words, Trisha, a poopy head.
I love that word.
I'm trying to censor myself. But it makes it a lot harder to be a jerk if you know this person on a more intimate level. And I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea about that word, but like when you know somebody on a more personal level, it makes it much harder to, as I said, be a jerk. I've said that multiple times now, but I feel very strongly about this. And I think that it is really important. And so we have to be intentional about building relationships with our colleagues. So if that means that you have to set aside 15 minutes to have coffee with them once a month, start off with once a month. Maybe it's becomes more frequent than that, but do whatever you can. And it's sort of like exercise. We all say like, oh, I don't have time to exercise. Well, you do. They always say, put it as an appointment in your calendar. It's the same thing when you're trying to build relationships. Put it in your calendar. Make it a priority. And even if something else comes up that seems like it's more urgent, this is urgent too. Because we have to build those relationships so that, again, we can do the work that we have been hired to do. And it all becomes easier the stronger those relationships get.
I love that so much. And y'all, please understand, we're not saying that we want you to go out and be best friends with these people and hang out with them all the time and do whatever. We're talking about just understand who they are as a human. Who are they outside of the workforce? Who are they inside the workforce? Julie and I, in all of the classes that we teach, we both do these kind of get to know you icebreaker activities before everyone. And the whole point that why we do these is to connect people so that we start seeing each other as human versus individuals on a screen, like little squares that don't exist in the real world, or bots or something like that. So even if you do it in a meeting format, I think that would be amazing. Like start off, reserve 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be a long time. Reserve 10 minutes at the start of a meeting to come up with a question that you can ask everybody, just so that people can start connecting on I'm going to use the same word you used, on a more intimate level. And we're not talk about hanky panky. And by the way, if you haven't seen or heard, if you haven't heard our last episode, go back to that, because we are most certainly not talking about that. We're just talking about getting to know each other. Should we each pick one more?
Yeah,
we sit here and laugh at ourselves.
That sounds good. So I'm going to leave the one that I know you're going to pick for you.
Which one is that?
That's the last one.
That's exactly the one I wanted to do.
Yes. And I am going to, which one am I going to pick? Because I feel like we've already talked a lot about these, but I am going to pick enforce your company policies without exception. And that sounds super boring and totally HR-ish, but I have a spin. So here's the thing. We're talking about email. And again, sometimes people get hot and they fire something off and they don't care in that moment. They may know that they are doing something wrong, violating a policy or a code of conduct, but they in that moment, they feel justified and righteous. Here's the thing. You got to call it out. Even if it doesn't result in, I'm not saying it has to result in some sort of formal disciplinary action. You can give the person grace, just like we were talking about with the Travis Kelce incident. You can give the person grace, but you got to call it out. So if somebody drops the F-bomb in an email, now, I think we have established, I love the F-bomb. I use it regularly in talking with all sorts of people, but I would never, ever in a million years put it in an email. Ever.
Right.
So if somebody goes that far, you got to call it out, even if it's just like, that was totally out of line. That can't happen again. That when you read it, it has a different sort of punch than when you're talking to somebody. Because again, as you said at the beginning, over email, you can't see body language. You can't read context or tone. All of those things are gone. And if you are using the F word in a response, things are probably already pretty heated. So the person receiving that email is probably likely to take that as exactly how you intended, quite frankly. And so, so this is, so we need to call those things out. So we need to enforce our company policies. You've heard us say it before. If you've got core values and one of them is respect, that is not respectful. And we got to call it out when we see it, or it doesn't mean anything.
Wow, Jules, that actually is such a perfect segue into mine. And you guys will notice that even though we called ourselves out at least twice on giving you best practices, we can't help ourselves. we keep giving you the issues and then giving you best practices. I'm going to continue to do the same right here. The one that Julie was saying she was going to hold for me is the hire for emotional intelligence. This one is absolutely imperative. If you do not understand what emotional intelligence is, again, I would direct you to one of our online trainings. We have some excellent conversations in those. So when we're talking about emotional intelligence, think about all of the different examples Julie and I have given you. Every time you stop and pause and think before you respond, that's an example of emotional intelligence. Being kind is an example of emotional intelligence. Looking at yourself and your behaviors is an example of emotional intelligence. Being able to say when you are wrong, or look, I know I did it. I messed up. I said it. I did it. I communicated poorly. All of that is what we're talking about. So why I said I'm going to tie this into our best practices is we mentioned earlier creating a culture that values respect and civility. So if you create a culture where that is the expectation, then you hire those who value it too. So if you're looking to hire those who hold those kind of, again, words that we still do need to define, but if you hold those kinds of the overarching concepts of those terms as something that's valuable to your team, and then look to find people who actually bring that to your team, isn't that a lot easier than trying to change someone and their communication and who they are? Now, I'm not saying that that's impossible. I believe people have the innate capacity to learn and grow and become better humans. I hope, because I always want to grow and become better. I'm by no means near perfect and want to keep fighting to get better and better and better all the time. But if you're hiring with people who have that in mind, or that they have those values that you already have, then it's going to make it a lot easier to then really live those values and that culture. Yeah, I did feel like I was up on my podium there.
Yeah, you deserved a all-around clap for that.
Thanks.
No, that was great. No, it's so true. And so we do want to give you a couple other best practices. This one I've already sort of talked about, but you really need to define what values you want, how you want your interactions with your coworkers to be. And this is the job of the manager. This is a leadership opportunity. It is for you to get them together and say, what do we mean when we say we want to be respectful to each other? What do we mean when we say we want to be professional? What does that look like? What does it feel like? How do we make sure we do that for each other? And I think that is, again, really important because it's very important to define those terms because we don't always have the same definition of them. So I know that when I first said this with one of the groups, and I was like, this is how we're going to spend our afternoon, 4 hours. And they were like, are you nuts? Like, how are we going to talk about this for 4 hours? And then we did. We started putting all these words up on the board. And then I said, okay, so what do they mean? Let's take them one by one, and we started going through them. And then it became apparent like, oh, yeah, these mean different things to different people. There were certainly similar refrains across the board, but it did really help to put it out there and to say, okay, so then how does that translate into how we treat each other? And what are our guiding principles when we are together so that we make sure we are embodying all of these beautiful words that we just put on the whiteboard?
I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for that one. That sounds like that was so fun.
It was. It actually really was. And I think it really brought home to them that people weren't intentionally being disrespectful or unprofessional or uncivil. They just all had very different understandings of what that looked like. So again, when we need to define the purpose of why we're together. Each time we're together, we need to define what our goal is. Because if we are all focused on the goal, then we're less likely to have some of these other issues that keep cropping up where people are reading into them. So the other thing I want to talk about, and we could do an entire episode on this, but confirmation bias is a thing. And I know we did implicit bias and we talked about this a little bit in season 1, but all I will say here is, again, confirmation bias is the tendency to look for things that confirm what you already believe and to disregard anything that contradicts what you currently believe. And the way that this comes into workplace civility is if you are bound and determined to see malintent on the part of your coworker, that is what you will see. And that is
100% of the time.
And that is what you will find. And so one of the things that came out of one of the groups that I thought was great was one of their guiding principles is to assume good intentions on the part of their colleagues. And it is amazing how just that switch in frame can result in a completely different outcome.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Assuming the best instead of the worst.
Yeah. And again, we're wired to assume the worst. We are. Right. So it takes work.
Yes. And it does get easier, as we already alluded to, the more you get to know someone as an individual, because then you start to give them that benefit of the doubt.
I don't have a bell, so that's my ding, 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 ding. Yes.
Oh, see, now I was feeling like I was supposed to kiss someone. I was like, oh, there's no one here.
Again, Trish.
Where's my husband?
That was last episode.
Oh, right. Darn it. I keep getting them confused.
All right. So give me a best practice.
Okay. I'm a big, big, big believer in conflict management skills. If you are a manager or if you're an HR professional or just an employee looking to improve your skills, conflict management is one of the best trainings you could probably ever take. I think that just learning how to listen to one another, learning how to present your side without attacking, learning how to receive information, which is the key, right? I always say this in all my classes. This is a two-sided equation here. It's not just about giving feedback, it's about receiving feedback. It's the same thing with conflict, right? Request that kind of a training. If you're a manager and you get that, share it with your team. And this goes with what Julie's already said before. I could go on, but I know our episode is getting long. Don't defend those offensive behaviors, right? When you're in the middle of this conflict management, one of the first things you're going to learn is not to defend the offensive behavior. Help correct it. And again, think about it from a positive. It's not you did this, you did that, and you're a terrible human. It's what do you think you could do to improve? And then I think that's a wonderful idea. Let's practice. And how would you say it next time? It's very growth oriented that way.
Yes, it's that feed forward method that we talked about in performance management. Yes. The only thing that I would add to that is you can also make this fun. So once you decide on what your guiding principles are, what your words are, your core values for your team, what your culture is going to look like, have fun with it. Like pick something that makes you all laugh, that you could, you have a bell that you ring in the middle of a meeting when somebody starts droning on and going off topic, like bring it back to reality, or you've got the no button that Staples wasn't it Staples that used to have
nut button.
Like you do something funny that can gently remind everybody of what those shared values are, what the purpose is, and keep everybody on track. And it's
Can I add to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I like to throw things at people. Wait, no, that's not what I meant.
Does not seem civil.
Well, all right, let me rephrase that. I'm a big believer in like those little flavored Tootsie Rolls.
Oh.
They're amazing. They're delicious. And so when someone does something good or something that I think goes with our values or is respectful, I like to toss them out in the meetings. So
yeah, that definitely needed clarification.
Oh, fine.
Okay, but you're giving people treats, so that's okay.
Yeah, you can throw things at people if it's gently and it's more of a slide and come on, Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah, they are good. Okay, so I think the last big thing is hold yourself accountable, because if you don't hold yourself accountable, how can you hold anybody else accountable or expect anybody else to hold themselves accountable? And especially if you are the leader, that's doubly important. So it is totally fine to say, you know what, you're human. It's totally fine to say, I did not handle that well. I will do my best to handle it differently in the future. And please, by all means, if you see me starting to get upset or frustrated, feel free to say, hey, looks like you're getting a little hot right now, whatever, just give people cues. Give them permission to let you know that it's okay to correct you, because that is setting an example for them that it's also okay if somebody has to correct them.
I like that. I like that a lot. And that would be a huge, huge, huge mic drop. I think just going back to what you said, hold yourself accountable, hold others accountable, and reward them for doing good, right? We always, it's that Pavlovian response.
Yep.
You reward them, they're going to, and that it doesn't necessarily have to be throwing things at them like I do, but just let them know. That was such a great thing that you said in the meeting today. I appreciated the encouragement. I thank you for calling me out on that. I was getting a little hot or a little hostile or whatever. I think that would be brilliant.
Yeah. All right. So you want the biggest mic drop as we near the end of this episode?
Yes, please.
Okay. So when you're in your groups, you can always say, how do we turn this WHINE into a WINE?
I love it. And for those of you who are new, you will figure this out the more episodes you listen to, because every episode we have a WHINE and, of course, our favorite WINE.
Yes. So, Trisha, speaking of our WINE, how are you liking your Unshackled?
I need a refill. If that just tells you any, yeah. I love it. Would highly recommend it. If you're like me and you're normally a Josh girl, splurge a little bit on this. My Josh is my Chardonnay, but I would say splurge, go for this. It's so good.
That is a ringing endorsement. I love it. And
you, Jules?
I am enjoying this wine very much. So I also need a refill. I think it is just very, again, whites for me, they hit the sweet spot when they are just like a nice sipping wine that you could enjoy while you're chit-chatting with your friends, connecting with them on a more personal level. And, really
nice tie-in.
Yes, really forming those important relationships. So this one fits the bill.
Awesome. Yes, love it. So everyone, we hate to say goodbye, but we are well over our normal time frame. I will leave you with this. If you like what you heard today, please check out our online seminar on workplace civility that is coming soon. We'll give you more tips and more tricks. Or if you don't want it, but you think it'd be great for your managers, definitely sign them up. We even help you create an action plan. So between these two items, you should be good to go and improving and hopefully having a more productive workforce, because that, after all, is the goal.
Yeah. So our online courses will be available in the coming months. We are in the process of recording them and we're having a blast. So you get to spend your time online with Trisha and I. What could be better? And in the meantime, if you're missing us, you can go check out our past episodes of Wine with HR. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure to continue to join us for all our exciting topics in season 2. Cheers.
Cheers.